Jai Hind everyone. Myself Dr. Vanna Sharma from Applied Sciences and Humanities Department of Fajr Kumar Garg Engineering College. The subject which I am teaching, that is engineering physics. Subject code is KS101T and the topic which I have started, that is wave optics. Now in wave optics, these are the reference books for covering this topic of interference from wave optics. A textbook of engineering physics by Navneet Gupta, a textbook of optics by Ajoy Ghatak, and these are the two books, engineering physics by S.K. Gupta and S.L. Gupta, and some internet links are also there to study this first part of wave optics, that is interference. Now the various topics which we are covering in this interference part of wave optics, that is introduction, interference. Just give me 1 minute. So we have already covered this introduction and interference part. Types of interference we have already discussed in our last lectures. Condition of interference, coherent sources. We have already discussed about the coherent sources and why two independent sources can never act as coherent in nature. That we have already discussed. And methods to obtain coherent sources. So we have discussed about two methods. One is division of wavefront and other one is division of amplitude. Then we have interference in case of thin films. So in my last lecture I have discussed about interference in thin films of uniform thickness. So the topic for today's discussion is interference in thin films of non-uniform thickness. So basically I am going to discuss here wedge-shaped thin films. So how the interference will take place in wedge-shaped thin films, that is a topic of discussion for today's lecture. So interference in wedge-shaped film. So first we have to understand that what is the meaning of a wedge-shaped film. A wedge-shaped film means you have a thin film, but now the thickness of that thin film is not uniform. That thin film is of different thickness at different points. So you can understand it like this. You have a wedge-shaped film like this. So at the point of contact, the thickness of that wedge-shaped film is 0, and when you are moving away from this point of contact, then the thickness will go on increasing. It is like this. You have this wedge-shaped film. Let this OX is the upper part and OY is the lower part. So as you can see here, this is the point of contact. So at this point of contact, this thickness is 0. So here the thickness is 0, and when you are moving away from this point of contact, at this point, this is the thickness of wedge-shaped film. Here, this is the thickness of wedge-shaped film, means that thickness will go on changing. You have a thin film of non-uniform thickness. It will form a wedge. So that is the reason it is known as a wedge-shaped film. So a wedge-shaped film is that which is enclosed between two inclined surfaces at a small angle. So now the point which you have to remember here, that this angle of wedge, this particular angle which is between this OX and OY, that angle is very small. This angle, either you can say this is your angle of wedge, or you can say this is angle of inclination. This theta is very small for a wedge-shaped film. So now how the interference will take place, that we will try to understand with the help of diagram here. So in order to explain that diagram, I am taking the reference of this one. So this is your wedge-shaped film. So again I am referring this upper part of this wedge-shaped film as OX, and this OY is the lower part of this wedge-shaped film. So this is wedge-shaped film, and let mu is the refractive index of this wedge-shaped film. One more point you have to remember here, that you have three different mediums. The first one is from where the light is entering into this wedge-shaped film. The second one is this wedge-shaped film, and the third one is this one. So normally we have air along this direction. Again we have air in our third medium, and you have this wedge-shaped film of refractive index mu. So mu is the refractive index of this wedge-shaped film. This theta is the angle of wedge, or you can say angle of inclination here. So we have a monochromatic source of light here. So here you have a source of light. Let S is that particular source of light. Now it will give you light radiations. Suppose this light ray AB, that incident on the upper part of this wedge-shaped film. So this ray will strike over this particular point, that is at B, over this upper part of wedge-shaped film. So when light will strike on this position, then since we are having an interface of two mediums, so some part of the light will be reflected. So this part will be reflected. So this is the reflected ray which is reflected from upper part of the wedge-shaped film, and some part will be refracted, or you can say transmitted. So this ray, this BC, that is a transmitted ray. So when this ray will reach over the lower part of this wedge-shaped film, again at this point we are having an interface of two mediums. means again at this point some part of the light will be reflected and some will be transmitted. So that transmitted portion is not shown over here, only the reflected part we are showing, because first we will discuss this interference in bedsheet film due to reflector system. So this is the reflected part. So when this reflected ray that will reach over the again over the upper part of this bedsheet film, you know what will happen. Again you have an interface of two mediums. So some part will be reflected, so this is the reflected part, and some will be transmitted. So this one is the transmitted ray. Now observe these two rays very carefully. Observe this R1 and R2. These two rays, as I have discussed in case of thin films of uniform thickness, that R1 and R2, these two are the reflected rays. One is reflected from the upper part of this bedsheet film. You can see that the point of origin of this particular ray R1, that seems to be this point B, and your ray R2, that seems to be coming from point C. So these two rays, they are coherent in nature. Why I am saying these two are coherent in nature? Because they are generated from same source. So these two are coherent in nature, and this angle theta is very small. If theta is very small, then these two are very close to each other. So as I have referred in case of thin films of uniform thickness, that these two are looking like two parallel lines, but they are not parallel lines, they are two light rays, and they are close to each other since this theta is very small. So if they are close to each other, they will get superimposed, and if they will get superimposed, what you are going to get? You are going to get an interference pattern, and in that interference pattern you are going to observe maximas and minimas. Now where you will get maxima, where you will get minima, that will be completely decided by the part difference between these two. So whatever is the part difference between R1 and R2, so if that part difference is satisfying the condition of maxima over a certain point, then you will get a maxima there, and if that part difference is satisfying the condition of minima over a certain point, then you will get minima there. So now our first objective is to find that part difference here. So in order to find that part difference, what you have to do, you have to draw a normal from D on this line R1. So when you will draw a normal from D on this line R1, then this M is the foot of normal, as you can see here. So if this is a foot of normal, then this angle is 90. And since this incident ray that is making an angle I with that normal on the upper part, so this angle is also I, this is I, so this total angle is 90, so the remaining angle will be 90 minus I. So if you was observe this triangle, this angle is 90 minus I, this one is I. So since you know the sum of all the three angles in this triangle will be 180, so this angle will be I. So this particular angle is I. And similarly, what we are doing here, since we have to find the part difference, so geometrically we have to simplify it. So in order to simplify it, again we are drawing a normal from this line, from this point D on line BC. So when you are drawing this normal, then N is the foot of that normal. So this angle is 90 here. As you can see that the refracted ray is making angle this angle R with the normal here. So if this is R, then the remaining angle, this angle will be 90 minus R. You have 90 minus R here, you have 90 here. So according to that particular property of triangle, that sum of all the three angles in this triangle will be 180. So according to that property, this angle will be R. So now in this triangle DMB, this angle is I, and in triangle this BDN, this angle is R. So you have this I, this one is R. Now geometrically what we are doing, we are extending this particular refracted ray along this direction. So we are extrapolating this ray along this direction, and from D we are drawing a normal on OY. So when we will draw a normal from this D on OY, and we are extending that normal along this direction, then these two, this particular line and this line, they are going to meet at this position. So this angle is R plus theta. Now how I am saying this is R plus theta, let me explain that. You have this angle as R, and you can see this line is normal on upper part and this line is normal on lower part. So if you have a bed shade film like this, and this one is normal on the upper part and this line is normal on the lower part, you know the point where these two normals are going to meet. If this angle is theta, then this angle is also theta. So using the similar property, this since these two inclined surfaces, they are inclined at this angle theta. So the normal on upper part and normal on lower part, they are going to meet at this position, and angle at this point is theta. Now you have a triangle here BCK. In this triangle you have two interior angles, this R and this theta. So the sum, this, and you have this exterior angle here. So the sum of these two, that this exterior angle, that will be equal to sum of these two. So this angle is basically R plus theta. So this is your R, this one is theta, and this exterior angle is R plus theta. Now see one thing, you have two parallel lines here, and this particular line is cutting these two. So if I am saying this angle is R plus theta, then geometrically this angle is also, this angle will also be R plus theta. So I am using the same logic. You have this angle as R plus theta. This one, this line is just parallel to this one, and this is cutting, this particular line is cutting these two parallel lines. So if this is R plus theta, then this angle is R plus theta. So I hope the logic is clear to you, that if it is R plus theta, you have two parallel lines, and this line is cutting these two parallel lines. So if it is R plus theta, then this is also R plus theta. So using the same logic, this is R plus theta, this is also R plus theta. Now what we have to do, we have to find the part difference. So you know this R1 and R2, these two lines, beyond this MD, beyond this line, these two optical paths will be equal. So beyond this, if both the optical paths are equal, so the part difference will be this BC plus CD minus BM. So what is the part difference? Part difference is basically BC plus this CD minus the remaining part BM. But one more point you have to see here, that BC and CD, these two optical paths, they are in medium, whereas BM, that is in air. So if you want to convert this BC and CD also in terms of air, then you have to multiply with mu. So the effective part difference for this bedsheet film between these two reflected rays, that is mu times BC plus CD minus BM. And geometrically I have explained that how this angle is R plus theta. And one more interesting thing is here, that you have these two triangles. Suppose I am referring this triangle as 1 and this triangle as 2. So give me 1 minute. This triangle as 2. So in these two triangles, you can see that this side CP, that is a common side. So one CP is the common side. And the next point is that this angle CPD is 90 degree and CPL is also 90 degree. So this angle CPD is equal to angle CPL, and both are equal to 90 degree. And geometrically, when you are extending this, then this DP will be exactly equal to PL. So your DP is also equal to PL. So now you can see that that CP is the common side, these two angles are equal, and this DP is equal to PL. So it means these two are similar triangles, so the remaining angles and remaining sides will also be equal. So if I am using that particular property of triangle, then according to that, this CD will be equal to the corresponding side, means CD will be equal to CL. So what I am concluding here, that CD is equal to CL. So we are going to use all these properties to find that effective part difference. So the formula for part difference is mu times BC plus CD minus BM. So let me show you that particular slide. So this is your part difference, BC plus CD minus BM, right? So first we will find this BC, CD and BM. So how you will find that? You know, according to Snell's law, mu is equal to sine I upon sine R. This is your Snell's law. You all know that mu is sine I upon sine R. And how you can find this sine I? Sine I can be calculated from this triangle. This is angle I. So if you will find sine I, that will be equal to BM upon BD. So sine I is, your sine I is BM upon BD. So this is your sine I. And similarly sine R. So you have to refer this triangle for sine R. From here, this is angle R. This is perpendicular. So sine R will be equal to Bn upon Bd. So I am writing sine R is Bn upon, this is Bn upon Bd. So this is Bn upon Bd. Now just find the value of mu. What will be your mu? It will be simply sine I upon sine R. So if you will substitute the sine I and sine R, finally what you are getting? You are getting Bm upon Bn. So what is the value of Bm from here? This Bm is equal to mu times Bn. It means you can replace this Bm, this particular factor, with mu times Bn. If you will replace it, here you are getting this is Bm is equal to mu times Bn. It means the part difference which you are writing here, that part difference can be written as, this can be written as mu times Bc plus Cd, and instead of Bm you can write mu times Bn, so that mu can Bn can be taken mu can be taken common, so you are getting this only, mu times Bc plus Cd minus Bn. So what is the part difference? What is the part difference between these interfering rays? The part difference is, just give me 1 minute. The part difference is, this part difference is delta, which is equal to mu times this Bc plus Cd minus Bn. This is the part difference, right? And one more thing is there, that geometrically we have concluded that CD, this CD is equal to CL. So instead of CD you can write CL here. So if you are writing CD as CL, what you will get? You will get the part difference as mu times BC, and I am replacing the CD with CL, plus CL minus BN. So now you have to see here, this is your BC, this part is BC, then CL, this is your CL, BC and CL. So total will be equal to, this is your BC, this is CL, total will be equal to BL. So I am replacing this one with simple BL minus BN. Now you have to observe this. This is your BL, total one is BL minus Bn, means from the total BL you have to subtract this part Bn. So if you will remove this Bn from BL, you will get only NL. So this entire term will be replaced by NL. So what is the part difference now? The part difference is simply mu times N into L. So this is the part difference, means initially there were three sides in terms of which you were writing the part difference, that is mu times BC plus CD minus BM. So now we have simplified all those terms, and finally the part difference that is coming in terms of a single side, and that side is only NL. So I'm showing you that particular slide where this part difference is written. So the part difference is, this is the final expression which I have explained with the help of that diagram, that delta part difference is mu into NL. So now our objective is just to find the value of that NL. So how you will find that? Again I am showing you that diagram here. So now our objective is to find this NL. So in order to find that NL, I am highlighting this triangle with the red color here. You have this triangle, this particular triangle. You can see in this triangle, what is DP? That is the thickness of this bedsheet film for this position. So if I am saying that DP is T, and you also know geometrically DP is PL, so it means this DP as well as PL both are T. So what will be total DL? DP is T, PL is T, so total DL is equal to 2T. So you have this particular side as 2T, and you have this angle as R plus theta. So what will be cos of R plus theta from this triangle? So if you want to write cos of R plus theta from this triangle, that will be this NL divided by DL. So you have this cos R plus theta as NL upon DL. So what will be the value of NL only? So if you want to find NL only, then this NL is DL times cos of R plus theta. And you know what is the value of this DL? We have already written here DL is 2T. So what is the value of NL then? It is 2T cos of R plus theta. So you are getting the value of this NL as 2T cos R plus theta, and the part difference from this formula is 2 mu T cos of R plus theta. So this is the part difference which you are getting between these two interfering rays, and this path difference is going to decide where you are going to get maxima, where you are going to get minima. So now I am showing you all this calculation in this PPT. So we have reached at this position that path difference is mu times NL. After that you have to find that NL, and you have calculated NL as 2t cos r plus theta, and now substitute this value of NL here. You are getting the path difference as equation number 6, that is 2 mu t cos r plus theta. But again you have to consider Stokes treatment here. Why I am saying that you have to consider Stokes treatment? Because ray number 1, that is your R1, this particular ray that is reflected from this upper part of bedsheet film, and this bedsheet film is having refractive index mu which is greater than 1, means that is greater than air. So this ray R1, it is reflected from a denser medium, and according to Stokes treatment, you know that whenever a light ray is reflected from a denser medium, there will be an additional path difference of lambda by 2. So the path difference which you have calculated as 2 mu t cos r plus theta, that is not the effective path difference. You have to consider one additional factor of lambda by 2. So according to Stokes treatment, you have to choose that factor. So that is the reason this equation number 6 is not the effective path difference. You have this extra factor of lambda by 2 here. So whatever I have explained, that is written over here. The ray R1 reflected from a denser medium, therefore there occurs an additional path difference of lambda by 2. This is according to Stokes treatment, as I mentioned, that according to Stokes treatment there will be an additional phase change of pi, or you can say there will be an additional path difference of lambda by 2. So either you have plus lambda by 2 or minus lambda by 2. That will depend upon this factor, whether you have a phase difference of plus pi or a phase difference of minus pi. So depending upon that, you have this factor of plus lambda by 2 or minus lambda by 2 in terms of path difference. So the effective path difference is this 2 mu t cos r plus theta plus minus lambda by 2. Now it is going to decide that which point will be the point of maxima and which point will be the point of minima. So in order to decide those conditions, you know, for maxima, this path difference should be even multiple of lambda by 2. So if I am saying even multiple of lambda by 2, so it is 2n lambda by 2, or simply you can say n lambda. So for maxima, path difference should be n lambda, and you have the path difference as 2 mu t cos r plus theta plus minus lambda by 2. Substituting this value of delta here, you are getting the condition of maxima. This is the condition of maxima for a bed shade film, or you can say this is the condition of maxima for a thin film of non-uniform thickness. So this is the condition for maxima. Similarly, we will find the condition of minima, and you know, in order to get minima, the path difference should be odd multiple of lambda by 2. This is the condition for minima, that path difference is odd multiple of lambda by 2, and you know what is the value of delta. Delta is 2 mu t cos r plus theta plus minus lambda by 2. So we are substituting delta here and just simplifying, you are getting your equation number 9. So equation number 9, that is going to represent the condition of minima here. So I hope the conditions of maximas and minimas for a bedsheet film is clear to you. So now what I am going to do, I am going to conclude the results of thin film of uniform thickness and the results of thin films of non-uniform thickness in reflected system. And I am concluding it like this, that in reflected system, so I am taking two cases, reflected system. The first case I am taking thin film of uniform thickness. So you have a thin film of uniform thickness, and in second case you have a thin film of non-uniform thickness. So what I can say, I have a thin film of non-uniform thickness, or simply I can say I have a wedge shaped film, right? So in both the cases, this is a wedge shaped film. In this case, the path difference, effective path difference is 2 mu t cos r plus minus lambda by 2. This is the path difference which we have already calculated in our last lecture. And in case of a bed shade film, we have calculated it right now. So the path difference is 2 mu t cos r plus theta plus minus lambda by 2. So this is the path difference for a wedge shade film. Now you can see both the results here. that if theta is 0, if you will substitute theta 0 means that OX and OY both will become parallel to each other, and that will be the case of thin film of uniform thickness. Means from here you can get this result if you are substituting theta 0. So this is the part difference for a thin film of uniform thickness, and this is the part difference of for a thin film of non-uniform thickness, or you can say bed shade film. Now the condition for maxima, if you want to write the condition for maxima for a thin film of uniform thickness, then the condition is 2 mu t cos r is equal to 2n plus minus 1 lambda by 2. This represents the condition of maxima here, and the condition of maxima in bed shade film is 2 mu t cos r plus theta is equal to 2n plus minus 1 lambda by 2. I hope you are getting the similarities and differences between bed shade film, results of bed shade film and a thin film of uniform thickness. So this represents maxima here, and this represents maxima in case of bed shade film. And if you want to write the condition for minima, so as we have already discussed that the condition of minima in this case is 2 mu t cos r is equal to n lambda. This represents minima here. And for a bed shade film, the condition of minima is 2 mu t cos r plus theta is equal to n lambda. So these are the results for thin film of uniform thickness, and these are the results for thin film of non-uniform thickness. So this was your bed shade film. Now moving on. Now we will find fringe width, or you can say we will find the spacing between two successive maximas or two successive minimas. That what is the distance between two consecutive maximas or two consecutive minimas, and you know the distance or spacing between two consecutive maximas or minimas, that is known as fringe width. So in order to find this, what we are going to do here, this is your bed shade film. So this OX is the upper part and OY is the lower part of this bed shade film. So what we have assumed here, we have assumed that this particular distance, over this distance, suppose you are getting your nth maxima. If you are getting your nth maxima at this position, then what will be this distance? I am explaining it like this. You have this bed shade film. This OX is the upper part, OY is the lower part. This theta is the angle of wedge or angle of inclination. Now I am saying that you are getting your nth maxima at this position. So this is the position of your nth maxima. So for nth maxima, let Tn is the thickness of the bed shade film, and let this distance is xn, right? And suppose you are getting your n plus 1th maxima at this distance. So this will be, let this is xn plus 1, and let the thickness of that bed shade film for n plus 1th maxima is Tn plus 1, and let this point is C and this one is D. So what is the actual significance of fringe width? Fringe width, that is the distance between two successive maximas. So this is your nth maxima and this one is your n plus 1th maxima. So basically xn plus 1 minus xn, that will be your fringe width for this bed shade film. So we have to find this xn plus 1 minus xn. So how you can find that? So in order to find this xn plus 1 minus xn, you have to consider two triangles. So we are taking here two triangles. So I am taking this triangle number 1. Triangle number 1 is AOB, and the second triangle is this one, that is this triangle. I am taking triangle COD, that is your triangle number 2. From triangle number 1, you can get the value of xn, and from triangle number 2, you can get the value of xn plus 1. And the difference of those two, that will give you your fringe width. So in order to find this, with the help of this AOB, what is the value of tan theta from here? If you want to write tan theta, then tan theta will be Tn upon xn. So what is Tn from there? Tn is simply xn tan theta. From first triangle, you have Tn as xn tan theta. On the similar lines, take your triangle COD, and what is the value of tan theta there? From COD, what will be tan theta? Tan theta will be Tn plus 1 upon xn plus 1. So what is the value of Tn plus 1 here? So Tn plus 1 is simply xn plus 1 into tan theta. So you have now the value of Tn, that is thickness for thickness of the bedsheet film for nth maxima, and you have thickness of thin film for n plus 1th maxima. And you also know what is the condition of maxima and minima in case of a bedsheet film. What is the condition of maxima? The condition of maxima is 2 mu t cos r plus theta is equal to, for nth it is 2n plus 1 lambda by 2. So simply you have to substitute this Tn for nth maxima. I am referring this thickness as Tn. So you have to substitute Tn from this equation. And for n plus 1th maxima, what will be the condition? Instead of Tn, you will write Tn plus 1. And instead of n, you have to write n plus 1. So the condition will become 2 mu, instead of Tn, it will be Tn plus 1 cos of r plus theta, right? And since you are referring to n plus 1th maxima, so instead of n, you will write n plus 1. So this right hand side will become 2n plus 3 lambda by 2. So you have these two equations. Now you can substitute the value of Tn, which is xn tan theta. You can substitute the value of Tn plus 1, which is xn plus 1 tan theta. And after substitution and subtracting equation, this is your equation number 1, this is your equation number, this is your equation number 2. So you have these two equations, substitute Tn and Tn plus 1 here, and after substitution, what you are going to get? So whatever I have explained, all these terms are written over here, and T, that is substituted in terms of x, and T, that n plus 1th maxima, that is also substituted in terms of xn plus 1. So I am referring that. So if you are substituting all these values, then after substitution, you are going to get this xn plus 1 minus xn here. So if you will simplify it, then this xn plus 1 minus xn, which is known as, what is xn plus 1 minus xn? That is the distance between two consecutive maximas. So that will be the fringe width. So if you will calculate it, then this fringe width is this xn plus 1 minus xn, that will be equal to lambda by 2 mu tan theta cos r plus theta. So it is lambda by 2 mu tan theta cos r plus theta. And if theta is very small, and then if theta is small, you can write cos r plus theta is approximately, this theta is small, and for normal incidence, if you are saying the light incident normally, then for normal incidence, this r will be 0. So r 0, and if r 0, this cos r plus theta will be equal to cos theta. So if you will substitute this cos r plus theta as cos theta here, this will become lambda upon 2 mu tan theta into, instead of cos r plus theta, it will be simply cos theta. And you know tan theta is sin theta upon cos theta. Cos theta will get cancelled, and you are getting only lambda by 2 mu sin theta. And since theta is very small, and you know for small value of theta, sin theta is approximately theta. So this sin theta is replaced with theta. So the final fringe width, final expression for fringe width is lambda upon 2 mu theta. So if you want to calculate the fringe width, what you have to do, you have to take the position of nth maxima, you have to decide the position of n plus 1th maxima, and the spacing between them, or you can say the distance between them, that will represent the fringe width. So what I have done here, I have taken nth maxima and n plus 1th maxima here, and using that we have calculated this fringe width. We can find a similar type of expression by using the condition of minima. If you will use the condition of minima, you are going to get a similar type of result. So whether you are using the condition of maxima or you are using the condition of minima, in both the cases you are going to get same result for fringe width, which is lambda by 2 mu theta, where lambda is the wavelength of light source, mu is the refractive index of that wedge shaped film which you are using, and theta is the angle of inclination. I hope all these points are clear to you. So for a thin film of uniform thickness in reflector system, these are the results which you are going to get. And if you want to describe bed shaped film in transmitted system, then all the results of reflector system, they will be just opposite or complementary to reflected one. What is the meaning of that? The condition of maxima, whatever the condition of maxima here, Let me show you that slide. This is the condition of maxima for a bed shade film, but in transmitter this will be the condition of minima. This is the condition of minima and reflected, whereas in transmitted it will be the condition of maxima. The reason is in bed shade film in transmitted system, delta will be only this 2 mu t cos r plus theta, because give me 1 minute, because in transmitted system there is no additional phase change of pi or no additional part difference of lambda by 2 there. So in that case the part difference will be simply 2 mu t cos r plus theta. So naturally this will be the condition of maxima there and this will be the condition of minima. But in most of the cases we are dealing with reflected system, we have to describe the conditions in reflected system only, so you have to remember all the conditions of maxima. But if you want to describe the conditions in transmitted system, then the results are just opposite to the reflected one. So that's all about bed shade film. And the next topic which we will discuss in our next lecture, that is necessity of an extended source of light. Means whenever you want to get an interference pattern in a thin film, then instead of a point source we always require an extended source of light. The reason is, if we have a point source, then suppose this is your thin film which you want to illuminate with the help of a source of light. If the source of light is a point source, then only a small part of that particular thin film will be illuminated by that particular source. But if you are using an extended source of light, then the entire thin film that can be illuminated with the help of that source of light, and the entire film can be simultaneously observed by the observer. So that is the reason, in order to observe the entire interference pattern, in order to observe the entire thin film, we always prefer extended sources as compared to point sources. So that is also written over here. When a point source of light is used to study thin films, only a small part of the thin film can be observed. So I have explained that. But if you are using an extended source, more rays are falling on the entire film and they're reflected from different parts of the thin film. Hence the entire film can be observed at the same time. So if you want to observe the entire thin film at once, then extended sources, they are always preferred as compared to point sources. So diagrammatically it is like this. If you are using point sources, then only a small part is observed by the observer. Only a small part can be seen by the observer. But if you are using an extended source, then the entire thin film, as you can see here, the observer can see the entire thin film because it is going to illuminate the different parts of this thin film. So that is the reason always extended sources are preferred over point sources. In my next lecture, I am going to discuss a very important experiment which is related to interference, and the name of experiment is Newton ring experiment. So that will be the topic of discussion for next lecture. So that's all for today. Thank you so much.